folks, and welcome into another edition of This Week in Pearl. I'm your host, Frank Hutton, and I have lined up for you today a fantastic show. We've had some super guests coming on here the last handful of shows that we've enjoyed bringing to you, but I've got another one for you today I think you're really going to enjoy. Former Speaker of the House, just announced running for governor back in April, Mr. Philip Gunn. He is going to join myself and Representative Newman today, and we're going to cover a lot of topics. I think we'll have a good time talking about it, and I think it'll be very eye-opening. So don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll be joined by former Speaker of the House, Philip Gunn. We'll be right back.
Here in Pearl, we have Trustmark Park. It seats 8,500 people. It's a great venue that we have here locally. You can catch a baseball game. We have a new team, the Mississippi Mud Monsters, so we're so excited about that. In Trustmark Park, the stadium's been fully renovated. Adjacent to that, we have Bass Pro Shop, as well as the Mississippi outlets that people can come shop and enjoy and have a great time. So it's a good place to come. It's a destination spot for our city. We did a $12 million renovation to our Parks and Rec several years ago, and what we were missing was another key area for our children to come and just be able to hang out and have fun, but also have some playground equipment that was really cutting edge. I've always thought if you can get your community together, then you can have a stronger sense of community. And I think that's what Main Street brings to the table for us. And even though we're a post-World War II city and our architectural doesn't signify a downtown, we're trying to have an area that we create that people can come together and have a sense of community.
Hi folks, welcome back into another edition of This Week in Pearl. I'm your host, Frank Hutton, and I am excited to be joined today by two wonderful men. One, our former Speaker of the House, Philip Gunn. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
And Representative G. Newman. Welcome.
Hey y'all.
Hey y'all, and how's you doing?
How's your mama now?
How's mama now? So thank you for coming in and agreeing.
What an honor it is to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Well,
Look forward to being with you.
Absolutely. It's been a minute since we've had you in the chair.
Yeah.
You haven't been in state government in a couple of years, so
Correct.
It's been just a minute since you sat right there, but we're glad to have you back.
Thank you.
So tell us what you've been doing. What you been up to?
Well, I've remained involved in the government, not even though I wasn't in an elected role. I continue to be involved with helping make decisions and staying in touch with my former legislators like Gene Newman, who are good friends, and trying to continue to make a positive impact on the state. I'm working for a law firm here in town, Balch and Bingham, that doing government affairs work, which is right out of the cloth that I just came out of. So it helps. It helps to be able to do that because I just know so many of the people in the government, and it's been a good place for me.
They just hung your portrait in the rotunda.
They did. What a high honor that was. I had no idea what a huge occasion that would be. I'd never done anything like that before. Tradition is to put the portrait of previous speakers in the entrance to the House chamber, and they had a ceremony. Had a phenomenal artist that drew the portrait, and we hung it up. I guess April 14th was the day that we did that.
Right.
And so that was a big day, and I was just hoping we'd have some people besides my family show up for that, and we did.
There were a few people there.
There were a few people there, and it was a big honor to have the portrait hung in the Capitol.
And it was good.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Portrait looks just like
he was limited on what he had to work with, so he did a good job. He did a good job making me look better than I am.
Well, catch us up on Mom and them.
Everybody's good. I have a wife that has been with me for 40 years now.
Wow.
So we're coming up on our 40th anniversary in December. I like to joke with her and tell people, my wife did not grow up in a Christian home. And she met me, she became a Christian at the age of 21 and met me a week later.
Oh, wow.
So
really?
I like to tell her that once she got right with God, the blessings just started rolling in.
She reminds
she doesn't appreciate that
all the time.
But we've been together coming up on 40 years, wow. And what a blessing that has been. Give all the praise to God for that. He is the one that's the center of our life, and we strive every day, even though we're weak and fallen sinners, we try every day to glorify Him in what we do. Been blessed with 4 children, all of whom are married, all of whom are having their own children. I now have 5 grandsons.
Wow.
And we have 2 granddaughters on the way, due in August, 10 days apart. So they're going to be like twins.
No kidding.
So we'll end up with 7. Yeah.
Oh, my. Our grandchildren great.
Oh, it's wonderful, wonderful. I was holding one of the infants the other day, and he messed up his diaper. And I got up and handed him to his daddy. And I said, bring him back when you're done. And I had great joy in it. Because my wife and I had twins at one. My daughter's only 20 months older than our twins. So at one point in our life, we were playing zone defense, man. It was 3 on 2, and we had 3 under the age of 2, and so it was a tough time in our life. We changed a bunch of diapers back then. So to hand him off to his daddy and say, go change his diaper was a great joy.
I know, right?
We just spent last weekend with our 2 oldest grandsons. We took them to Branson, Missouri, and had a wonderful time with them.
Yeah.
And I told them, I joked with them, I said, the greatest thing about this trip is that your mom and daddy are not here. We can do what we want to do. We get what we want to
eat. How old are they?
10 and 8.
Wow, so they probably had a ball.
Oh, they did. They had a great time.
So who had more fun, them or you?
Oh, we had a fantastic time with them.
Yeah.
And I think they had a tremendous time as well.
Yeah,
so
isn't that fantastic?
It was good.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's great.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's jump right in. You are running for governor.
Yes, sir. I have made that announcement about 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck with that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I want people to know, as you sit here, you were elected first into the House in 2004, District 56. Isn't that right?
Correct.
So where is that? Tell everybody where that is.
At that time, it encompassed Clinton, North Hinds County, some of Madison County, went up into Yazoo County, and over into Warren County.
Right.
The Democrats drew that district, and it was like an amoeba. It just had fingers everywhere.
All over the place.
It was all over the place.
Yeah.
In 2012, we had, as everyone knows, we do a census every 10 years.
Yep.
And we have to redraw districts to reapportion, get ourselves back into balance, if you want to call it that.
Right.
Gene and I both in the legislature, we're supposed to represent around 25,000 people, roughly. And so you have to redraw those lines after every 10 years because some areas grow, some areas decline, and those numbers get out of balance, and the law says everybody should have equal vote, 1 vote for one man. And so you want each district to be in balance. And so in 2012, we were able to redraw that. The area that I represented grew, and so we had to shrink the size of it, and I ended up with mainly just Clinton and Flora and over into Reunion in Madison County, and that's the way it was for the last 12 years of my service.
And I want people to know, too, also about former speaker here, you were elected speaker in 2012.
Correct.
And you were the first speaker elected since Reconstruction that was a Republican.
Correct.
And now people understand that goes all the way back to 1876 because I did my research.
That's correct.
That's a long time to not have a Republican majority in the House.
That's correct.
That is a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't think people would debate, we could get off into that, but I want to get off into talking a little bit about that because when we look back at your accomplishments, when you became speaker in 2012, when you look back at those, there was a pivotal time that myself and Representative Newman, Senator Kirby, some other guests that we've had, we talk about this timeline of when things really turned around for the state of Mississippi. I put my finger on 2008, the 2007 election, swearing of 2008, and things really started to change then. And you could see the improvements, and then of course you come around in 2012 as the speaker, and then the state just took off. I mean, things really started to change. I think, Gene, you're nodding up because that's true. Tell me a little bit about that, because you kind of point back a little bit, maybe a couple of years before that.
Yes, I got elected in 2004, and let me touch on that real quick. My first arena of public service was the school board in Clinton. I was called in 1994, I guess it was, and mayor and the alderman had a vacancy on the school board, and they said, we need a young person with children in the district to fill this role. One of the members had moved, had transferred, and had to resign. So I served for 11 years on the school board, but I was asked by the mayor and the alderman to do that. And then in 2003, I got a call. We had redistricting. Clinton got carved up 5 ways in redistricting. And we needed a conservative Republican voice in the legislature, so I did. I got a call from one of the aldermen and the previous representative and said, hey, have you ever thought about running for the legislature? And I said, no. And he said, well, I think you can win. We need somebody from your area of town, because we don't have a Republican anymore. We need a Republican. I said, how long do I have to think about it? They said, you got 1 week. Qualifying deadline's a week from today. So I ran again. And then in 2012, when I ran for speaker, I was approached by 6 or 8 House members who said, we want you to run for speaker. So my point in telling that background is, every time I've offered myself for public service, it's been at the request of others. I have not been one who has just pursued this for my own personal gain. I have a calling for public service, if you will, but in 94 for the school board, I was asked to run. In 2003 for the legislature, I was asked to run. In 2012 for speaker, I was asked to run. Well, the same thing's happening now. Yes, I stepped away 2 years ago. I'm not a career politician. This is not something that I just climb to the next highest position.
Sure.
And I think the voters need to ask, what's the motivation for each of the people who wants to run for office?
Agreed.
What are they running for? What is their motivation for running? Is they just enamored with politics? They just like the recognition that comes from it? Are they just trying to climb to the next highest ladder? I stepped away. I'm not one that's just running for the next time. But I'm being asked to run by people not just here, but all over the state, who desire leadership, who desire somebody who can step in and provide the kind of leadership that you're talking about, that has turned our state towards a more conservative.
Well, that period of time.
That's right.
Well, you were talking about that period of time, 2006, 2002, 2004, 2006, 2008. Right. I really picked out 2008.
Well, let me tell you what happened in 2006. I got elected in 2004 and was a freshman, and I began to just observe and learn like you do in the legislature. And I noticed that there were issues. At that time, I guess to understand this, there's 122 members in the House. Half of that is 61, so a majority is 62. At that time, we only had 45 Republicans.
Right.
It became obvious that some of those Republicans weren't voting like Republicans. And there would be a certain issue that would come before the House floor, which I felt like was an easy vote for a Republican, a clear conservative issue, but we'd have 20 of them abandon us and go vote with the Democrats. And after watching that for a year, I said something the next year to one more veteran legislator, and I said, why are we having trouble with the Republicans staying together? This vote, this one particular day, was an easy Republican vote, but they were just trying to, some of the Republicans were just trying to stay in good graces with the Democrat leadership at that time. And it got to a point where we grew so frustrated with it that this legislator, this Jim Simpson is his name, he's from the coast, and another legislator who's now deceased, the three of us, I said something to the two of them, and I said, let's talk about this. So they came over to my house one night in the middle of the session, and I ordered pizza, and we talked about how do we hold Republicans together? What can we do to create unity here and not fear and division? And we came up with the idea of doing a Republican caucus. And so the next day we went and pulled together 4 more of our colleagues, pitched the idea to them, they embraced it. We went to Haley Barbour, who was the governor at the time, and said, Governor, we think we need to do this. He agreed. And so we called a meeting of all the Republicans one night in 2006 at the Republican Party headquarters, and we pitched this idea of forming a caucus, and the Republicans embraced it. We formed a committee to go get some bylaws. They studied other states, and long story short, the Republican caucus was born. And that gave us a place of unity, a place of support. You could come in there and know that you had fellow Republicans with you. You were not alone voting on some issue, whatever. I think that was a pivotal moment in what you're talking about. It laid the groundwork for strength, and strength began to build.
You're exactly right.
And in 2011, that election in 2011 is when we flipped the house.
When you flipped that, because you're exactly right. That 2006, when you formed the caucus, 2007, that election in 7 pivoted to 8, which is where I point everything back. That filled in some gaps for me.
So for me, that was with that year in 2011 elections when we flipped the House from Democrat control to Republican control in the first time in 136 years, as you pointed out.
Right.
But we only got it by 3 votes. So it was still a very fragile coalition. But that was a challenge. I was privileged, of course, to be elected as the Speaker, and that began to change the course of our state, because we, for the first time in 136 years, began to implement conservative policies, and we were able to bring to bear things that I believe are moving Mississippi in the right direction. And we can talk about some of those. But in the 12 years that I was privileged to serve as Speaker, we did a number of policies that I think have made Mississippi the envy of the nation. I'm not saying that as hyperbole either. But the nation is envious of the fact that we were the state that led in overturning Roe versus Wade.
Yes.
We were the state that moved education from 50th to 16th. We were the first state to ever vote to get rid of the income tax, or to have a plan to get rid of the income tax. And so when we say we're the envy of the country, that's not just exaggeration. We have shown some leadership in those areas that have changed the face of this nation. And it all started in the Republican caucus of the Mississippi House of Representatives.
Of 2006.
Now, in 2015, with that election 2015, we went from 64, as I said a minute ago, 62 is a majority. We had 64 in 2012, but in 2015 we jumped to 74. And then today I think they have 79 or whatever. But that kind of goes back to why I'm running for governor, because I've demonstrated leadership and an ability to pull people together. And I want us to be a unified party. I think we're doing some things and have done some things that are making Mississippi a better place. But it requires somebody who can provide a vision and leadership and has the ability to pull people together. We can talk more about that in a minute, about how important that is. And Gene can tell you, everything we do in the Capitol revolves around votes. You got to have votes. And people don't understand the Speaker, the Lieutenant Governor, the Governor, they're not kings. They don't just declare stuff to happen and it happens. There's a different style of leadership that's involved, as opposed to the CEO of a company or even the head of a government agency. We got some people who are considering running who are the heads of an agency. That makes them the boss. And when they declare what ought to happen, people do it or they get fired. If you're the CEO of a company and you declare what happens, people do it or they get fired. Guess what? That ain't the way it works in government.
No, it's not.
Gene Newman does not have to do what I ask him to do. He's elected by the citizens of Pearl. He's answerable to them, not to the Speaker. So the Speaker has to have the ability, when you talk about moving education from 50th to 16th, when you talk about overturning Roe versus Wade, when you talk about doing income tax, by the way, that's a higher threshold because it's a tax bill. It's a higher threshold. The Speaker's got to sit down and say, okay, I want to eliminate the income tax. Here's the plan I have. I want you to be for it. And then you got to listen to them express support or not, and then say, okay, why do you not support it? What can I do to get you to support it? And you got to get them on board And you got to do it 74 times.
Right, you can't do it just
Because it takes 74 votes.
Right.
So there's a particular leadership skill,
Yeah.
knowledge of the process, having relationships with people that you have to have. They've got to trust you as the leader. They got to know you're not out to stick it to them, or you're not out to just elevate yourself.
Right.
You have a legitimate policy that you want to accomplish, and you need their help, and you got to be able to persuade them to come along with you to do that. And in a tax bill, you got to do it 74 times, because that's a 3/5 vote, not a simple majority.
Not a simple majority.
So every one of these things that we're talking about required somebody who has that ability to sit down and bring people together, create that unity. And I would point to the 2006 event. I would point to the 2011 event when we flipped the House. I would point to every policy that's been passed since then as a reflection of, demonstration of the ability that I have demonstrated to have those relationships and pull people together to get those things done. You mentioned earlier that Democrats were in control for 136 years in the House, and I was talking to a farmer the other day about this race, and I said, you know, let's liken it to a field. You're a farmer, you're going to plow this field. The first thing you got to do is to prepare the soil. You got to get the roots and the tree stumps and the rocks out of the field. Well, we've been doing that for the last 12 years. During 12 years I was a speaker.
It's a good analogy.
We've been preparing the field for planting. Now we have changed 130. We did more in the last 12 years.
No kidding.
Than the Democrats did in the previous 136
136
to move Mississippi forward.
Right.
And as I said earlier, our image has improved nationwide. So now the field is ready to be planted. Who do you want planting that field but the guy who knows every square inch of it? The guy who did all that to worked with the legislature to get all those things out of there. Now we got good soil to be planted, and it's time to plant or build on that foundation, or whatever you want to call it. So that's just a quick, when you talked about the things that turned and moved Mississippi forward. And I will tell you, I've gotten calls from all over the nation asking, what are y'all doing in Mississippi on income tax and education? I was invited to speak to the Missouri Republican convention a couple of months ago on income tax. They wanted to know what our plan was. I said, I'm not telling you our plan. Y'all need to raise your tax is what you need to do. I said, and they didn't like it.
They didn't get it.
Y'all need to raise your income tax high.
Yeah, they didn't get it.
So that people will come to our
Yeah, right.
But I've gotten calls from North Carolina, Kentucky, Texas, Oklahoma, the speakers of those states, the Senate presidents of those states who are friends of mine, who have said, what did y'all do in education? Y'all have changed the landscape.
We have.
And I saw, there have been articles in the New York Times and the New York Times, the LA Times about the Mississippi Miracle. I have to give credit to our teachers. You cannot, the teachers are the ones that make that happen. They're the ones where the rubber hit the road.
Exactly.
Right. Speaking of that, another thing we did was the largest teacher pay raise in the history of the state when I was the speaker. We gave a total during the 12 years I was speaker, right out a $10,000 pay raise. Right. We did a couple of smaller ones, and then we did the big one in 2022 or 23, I think it was, that raised our teachers' salaries at that time beyond the national average and beyond the southeastern average. So the teachers are the one that have moved us from 50th to 16th. Yes. But we in the legislature gave them support for that. We passed a package of bills in 2013 which gave them the tools, gave them the support, raised the bar of expectation. They went out and met it, and that's why we moved from 50th to 16th, because the legislature worked in partnership with the education community to make those accomplishments happen. And I'm very proud of where we are on the education community.
No,
and
I would agree with you, because your leadership there started all of that, and Gene's agreeing it started all of that, and of course we've continued to build on that. Even though you haven't been there the last couple of years, we've continued to build on that. But it had not been for you starting it back in 2012, we wouldn't be there today.
We laid that foundation.
You laid the foundation, and then putting in all those things. I kind of want to pivot to this. I don't think people really understand the gravity of Dobbs.
Right.
Explain it to our audience, the Dobbs decision and the gravity. Looking back at that, how that's been.
Well, as a Christian, I'm extremely pro-life. I think God is the author and sustainer of all life. Life begins at conception. In 2012, when we took over, that was one of the things we did right out of the gate. We hit the ground running with a series of pro-life measures trying to save the lives of the unborn. We passed a 20-week abortion ban, which said you can't have an abortion after 20 weeks. We passed a bill that said a physician who performs abortions must have admitting privileges. At that time, we had one abortion clinic in Mississippi. They were flying in a doctor, I think from South Carolina, to perform the abortions. I'm not aware of any doctors in Mississippi that were doing it. So we passed that bill. We passed a heartbeat bill, said you can't have an abortion after heartbeat. Well, every time one of those things happened, one of those bills would be passed, there would be an enormous debate on the House floor, 2 and 3 hours. The Democrats, some of the Democrats, would vigorously oppose the bill. There would be hurt feelings, a lot of argument, a lot of debate. It'd be tiresome. And then by the end of the day, the ACLU or Southern Poverty Law Center or somebody would have filed an injunction, and the bill would be struck down and stopped. And it's just like beating your head against the wall.
Sure.
So we did that for, I guess, 5 or 6 years, passing those bills, fighting that fight. In 2018, we brought forward another bill, House Bill 1510, which put a 15-week abortion ban. No abortion can take place after 15 weeks. Sure enough, long debate. In fact, before we brought that bill out, we had a caucus meeting, and that was discussed. We're gonna bring this bill out today. And there were some who said, "Hey, why are we doing this again? We've already proven we're pro-life. It's going to be a 3-hour debate. It ain't going to go anywhere. We're going to people get mad. Why are we wasting political energy fighting this fight, which we know is going to go nowhere?" Now, I think though my caucus was inclined to do it, but there were some who were raising the question. And a verse of scripture came to my mind, Galatians 6:9. It says, "Do not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up." And it resonated with me because it's like, let's just keep fighting the good fight here. We know, we believe that God is the author and sustainer of life. He's put us here to do His work. And we can't grow weary of doing good. And yes, it's frustrating and it's tiring, and we don't know that it's going to result in any change. But let's keep fighting anyway. So we did, and we brought the bill out, and it passed, and it went to the Senate, and they passed it, and sure enough, by the end of the day, it was struck down. But we didn't know in 2018 the Supreme Court was still very liberal, or predominantly liberal. But the Lord knew that in 2022 it wouldn't be. The Lord knew that in 2022 Donald Trump would have the ability to appoint 3 new justices, which would change the direction or the mindset of that court. And sure enough, in 2022, that bill worked its way through the system and became what we know as the Dobbs case. And thank the Lord that the Supreme Court ruled that each state could make its own decision regarding abortion. So that's one thing people need to understand. Roe versus Wade was overturned to say there's no longer a right to an abortion, but it didn't outlaw abortion.
It did not.
All that decision, all the Dobbs case said was each state can decide for themselves. Now we in Mississippi are very pro-life. We already had a bill on the books that we passed in 2007, I think it was, that said if Roe versus Wade is ever overturned, abortion would be outlawed in Mississippi. So we were ahead of the curve on that. And I was proud to be a part of that in 2007 when we passed that law. But some states still have abortion. and it is still available in this country, and we still need to be fighting the good fight, trying to convince women that abortion is not the answer. There's a tremendous community out there that wants to love children, take them in. I don't know if these statistics are still accurate or not, but at one time, for every one child available for adoption, there were 36 couples waiting. So there's plenty of people out there who want to provide a loving home for a child. Part of that dovetailed into some further legislation that we passed. We did a $10 million tax credit for businesses who donate to our Centers for Pregnancy Choices, our pregnancy resource centers. There were at one time 37 of those around the state. I think there's still around 30. Mississippi is a very pro-life state, and we provide those pregnancy resource centers for young ladies who have an unwanted pregnancy. And they come and they seek help, and we provide those centers provide that guidance to them, encourage them to go forward with the birth, and then they provide them with the options that are available thereafter. We did a $10 million tax credit after the Dobbs case came down to say, if you're a business and you want to support that pregnancy resource center, we will give you a tax credit. So the way this works is, if you owe $10,000 in tax to the state, you can give up to half of that to them, and we'll give you credit for having paid your taxes. You can give all $10,000 to me and Jean to spend, or you can give half of it to the Pregnancy Resource Center, and you are credited with having paid your taxes. It's a no-brainer. And so the reason we had a $10 million tax credit is because I called all 37 centers around the state and said, what's your annual operating budget? And it totaled $10 million. So theoretically, we can support every one of those centers around the state through private contributions without raising any taxes or using any state money, if you will, to support those centers. It's a tremendous way to support the pro-life movement.
100%, totally agree with you, and thank you for really giving us the clarity of how all of that came about. Because what I don't think people understand, the gravity of this, two things that we've talked about right here: education, and how that started back with your leadership, and two, the Dobbs decision and how you kept banging your head against that wall
until it finally fell.
Having faith, just like the walls of Jericho and Joshua marched around, having faith that, hey, we're going to keep doing this. That just takes leadership. That takes leadership, and there's a lot to be said. And I want people to understand the gravity of those two things that have happened have really defined the path that Mississippi has been on. Would you not agree?
It's changed our image. It has changed our trajectory. It has put us on the map. But I go back there again to the fact that no one person does any of that by him or herself.
No.
It takes a group.
Which
and it takes somebody pulling the people together, forming those coalitions. Winston Churchill said, the only thing worse than fighting with your allies is fighting without them. And so as Republicans, yes, Republicans are going to disagree from time to time, but we need somebody who is a unifier, somebody who can pull the factions together to accomplish good, not somebody who divides the group. And so, again, going back to the illustration about the votes, I use this kind of silly illustration all the time. How many of us like Mother's Day? We all like Mother's Day, right? It's a good thing. But if I don't have 62 votes, I can't even honor Mother's Day.
No.
So somebody's got to get there. Somebody's got to pull 62 votes together with people who do not have to follow. I heard a quote which said, if you're leading and nobody's following, you're just out for a walk.
That's true.
That's right.
True.
So I point to all of these things, the income tax, the education improvements, the Dobbs case, all the things that we did during the 12 years that I was there, took somebody go out and get those votes, build those coalitions, and get those things
How do you
passed.
do that? One of my questions, how do you navigate these issues that just deeply divide the public? How do you do that?
You have to be good at herding cats.
You have to be good at herding cats. How do you do that?
Well, I think that is the thing, and I run for governor, that I'm trying to distinguish myself on. I don't have anything bad to say about anybody else who's wanting to run. I hear names out there of others who are wanting to run, and they have been successful in their various arenas of service.
Sure.
But nobody else that I've heard of that's running has been involved in that process.
Right.
Of having to pull together coalitions of people that don't have to follow you. Nobody that else is talking about running has got the experience of that, the knowledge of the process, the relationships. And that's the answer to your question, is the relationships. I spent time getting to know Gene Newman and the other House members. They know me. They understand, I hope, my character, my integrity, my reputation, and I know them. And they trust, I believe, what I strive very hard to be faithful and honest, truthful and honest with all of them. And that's what it takes when you're trying to do something like that. They've got to trust you. You have to have a reputation of having dealt honestly with them in the past, faithfully, truthfully with them. They've got to know your character, you got to know theirs, and there's a bond there. There's a relationship. And as we talk about the governor's race, that's one of the things I've been talking about, is I can hit the ground running on day one. I worked in the House for 12 years. I worked with the senators during that same time, because everything we did on the House side had to be passed by the Senate too.
Right.
So I had to have 62 votes in the House and 27 on the Senate side. You got to go down the hall and you got to talk to them, and they've got to trust you as well.
And they do things completely different over there.
I have built those relationships, having served in 12 years.
Right.
We've formed those relationships. So on day one, there's not a learning curve for me. I don't have to learn the process. I don't have to learn the rules. I don't have to build those relationships. I've already got them.
Right.
And I can hit the ground running. And I think the legislation that you talked about demonstrates a track record of being able to move policies forward to make Mississippi better. That is something that I have that nobody else who's talking about running for governor has. I like this illustration, and it's kind of silly and funny, but we just this weekend had 2 baseball regionals.
We did.
In Mississippi State and Southern.
Right.
Well, Mississippi State won a national championship in 21.
Yep.
Ole Miss won it in 22.
Yep.
So I have asked, when I've been speaking, how many of y'all are proud of that fact? And now all hands are going, we're all proud of it.
Sure.
Made Mississippi look good when they won
right.
the championship, right? And I said, I went around the country telling people we won a national championship. By the way, Pearl River Community College just won it this week too.
Yeah, right.
So how many of y'all are proud? Yeah, we're all proud. How many of you said we won a national championship? And everybody raises their hand.
Yeah.
And then you say, well, how many of y'all hit a ball? How many of y'all threw a ball? How many of y'all made an out? Well, all the hands dropped. I said, so we didn't do nothing. We sat up in the bleachers and watched the boys on the field get it done, right?
Right.
Well, I'll lay that over to this governor's race and everything that we're talking about, those accomplishments. As far as people that were on the field getting it done, I think I'm the only one that's talking about running that is in the game, who was on the field, getting education moved forward, getting income tax done, getting jobs done, and the rest of them were in the bleachers watching. So
that's pretty good.
That's difference as you consider who you're going to vote for.
Oh my, I like that. Let's talk a little bit about taxes. Let's touch that a little bit.
Okay.
Because my question to you is pretty simple. Legislature just recently passed tax reform,
right,
where they're going to start doing away with state income tax. And my question is this: can Mississippi continue cutting taxes while funding infrastructure and education? Now, I want to pause you for while you think about that. Just on the Sunday shows yesterday was the governor from Florida talking about doing away with property taxes and all that, and surplus, and of course Florida's tax system's different than ours. Obviously, it's a little bit different. Population is 4 or 5 times ours. But can we continue cutting taxes in Mississippi and build infrastructure and fund education?
Absolutely, and we did it. We have done it. When we got rid of the income tax, I came out in 21, I guess it was, with my statement that I think it's time for us to get rid of the income tax. And at that time, the income tax was about a third of our budget.
Right.
Now, in 2018, we passed a road and bridge plan that used tax money we already had. In the special session of 2018, we were pulling in what they call the use tax. The use tax is about $30 million. $330 million. We said, this is money we're already collecting. We're just going to devote $120 million of that to roads and bridges. So we passed a plan in 2018, took money we already had, gave $50 million to the cities, $50 million to the counties, and $20 million to the bridge program, right? But every year, for $120 million every year, going to that infrastructure. At that time, there were over 700 bridges in this state that were closed or weight limited.
Right.
Today, that number's around 50.
Yeah.
So we have
Right.
chipped away at that. We did broadband deployment, talking about infrastructure. When COVID hit in 2020, it exposed the weaknesses of our state as far as in rural areas where kids were supposed to go home and do homework, people were supposed to go home and work and they couldn't because they didn't have access. We've now got a plan to get broadband. We took some of that CARES Act money, some of the ARPA money, and we did that. All of that happened because we didn't raise any taxes for that.
Right.
We just were responsible in the way we spent our money. So to answer your question, yeah, you can do it, but you got to control your spending too. And that's where you get into trouble, is when you try to keep spending at the same level, but you're cutting your taxes, but you're not adjusting your spending habits. We put more money into education than ever in the history of this state as far as dollar amounts go. When I left, it was over $3 billion. I think today it's gone up some since then.
It has.
So yes, we are devoting resources to education and infrastructure, but we've also adjusting our spending habits, which has helped us do that. One of the things, when you talk about taxes and spending, if you put money back into the pockets of the people, what are they going to do with it? They're going to spend it, right?
Of course, most of the time.
They're
not going to save
every
it.
time.
They're going to spend it.
Well, even if they're saving it for a day when they will spend it, all right?
Right.
So your sales tax goes up. And I'm talked to a number of tax experts who say you really want a system based on use taxes to the extent that you can have it.
Sure.
Sales taxes, that's a use tax. If you don't want to pay the tax on something, then you don't have to buy it.
Right.
You get to make that choice. If you don't want to pay the tax on a bass boat, nobody's making you buy a bass boat.
No, they're not.
But if you choose to buy the bass
Right.
boat, then you're choosing to pay the tax, or you get a used one, or you get something less.
Yeah.
So I would like to see our economy, to the extent possible, move more toward the sales taxes that we collect in this state. And what we did on income tax, one of the plans we had on income tax, was to limit spending or cap spending. It's kind of my favorite plan. I brought forward 7 plans, by the way, in 21 to eliminate the income tax, and couldn't get any traction.
7 separate plans.
7 separate. One of the plans had 32 Democrats vote for it.
Wow.
Because it benefited their people too. So it puts more, when you put more money into the pockets of our citizens, they have a better ability to raise their families, provide for their families.
Right.
They spend more in the community, which raises or generates those
Yes.
economic engines.
Yeah, the GDP.
You collect
right.
more sales tax. They give more to their church. They give more to charity. There's just no downside to letting the citizens decide how they want to spend their money versus the government. We kept spending. What we said was, we're only going to spend 1.5% of growth each year. And everything above that, we're going to pour back into the budget and buy down the income tax and fill that hole that the income tax is leaving. And if we don't achieve 1.5% growth that year, we just don't do anything. We just suspend it for that year. That's the idea of controlling your spending and being able to fill whatever hole is left, and you phase that in over a period of time, and you shift, if you will, from an income tax to more of a sales tax model. And so
it's
those are the
doable.
kinds of things that
Yeah.
we need to be looking at. I will tell you the number one issue on my campaign is looking at the property tax.
Right.
As we try to keep young people in this state, which is the number one issue.
My next question.
I go all over this state speaking.
Yep.
And that is a common theme. How do we keep our young people?
Well, that was the question I was going to ask, so let's answer
And
it. How do
so,
we do that?
as a young couple gets started, they're looking at keeping more of their hard-earned dollars. They're also looking at buying that first house, putting down roots in the community. The cost of that house, the cost of that property tax, the income tax they have to pay are all factors that are play into that. And right now, our nearest neighbor is Tennessee that doesn't have an income tax. Well, Nashville, Tennessee is a pretty exciting place for a young couple.
It
and
is.
Many of them are flocking up there. They think
Yeah.
it's great until they start having kids. And then they're like, I don't want to raise my kid in
Yeah.
Dallas, Texas, or Atlanta, Georgia,
Right.
or
Nashville.
And they're
Right.
looking somewhere to go. And so I think we need to look to provide property tax relief to our older citizens who have paid for their homes, who are living on fixed income. I think that needs to be the starting point. And I think we need to look at the other end where our younger couples are trying to put down roots and start exploring the ways where we can reduce the property tax burden on our state, on our citizens.
Yep.
I think that's a huge issue. And I came out when I made my announcement on April the 14th. It was right out of the gate with that. So I think, as far as I know, I'm the first candidate to say property tax needs to be targeted. And I was listening, I was on a conference call before I got here. Nationally, property taxes is in the discussion as well. So to my knowledge, I'm the first candidate to make that appeal to our citizens. Let's look at ways to get rid of not get rid of, but reduce
Reduce it,
the property
or
tax
even
burden.
eliminate it at some point.
If we can, that's
If
right.
we can. The thing that I'm noticing trends with young people these days, and of course I have kids as well, and fortunately grandchildren, but trends these days are smaller and leaner. They want less yard. They want to not have, they want to travel and
Yeah.
go do things and have kids and take them out. They don't want to spend time, mowing the grass per se. They had to do that growing up with mama and daddy making them grow, and they don't want to do that. So property is changing in the minds of young people.
For many of them it is, you're right.
And you have to start thinking about that as well, right?
But there are those who still want to have a little land, and they want to hunt, and they want to
Yeah, they do.
do stuff. So yeah, some of them like the no yard, but
Yeah.
some of them do.
I've got one. I've got one he's a travel nurse, so that'll help you explain that. He's used to living in a camper and
Well,
pulling it behind
yeah.
his truck.
And making big money, that's right.
Right, but he doesn't want to cut grass. He had to cut grass when he was growing up. So
Well,
Yeah.
this is a big thing for me, is keeping our young people here. I have 4 children. 3 of them live here. My daughter is in Texas right now, but has plans to move back here in about 3 years. Her husband's military, and they have a plan to come back. They love Mississippi. I want to find more young people like that.
Right.
And Gene and I were talking a minute ago before we went on about what does that look like. I think there are 2. As we cast a vision, people are going to say, "Well, why are you running for governor?" My vision is straightforward. I want Mississippi to be the best place in America to live and work and raise a family. That's pretty simple.
yeah, pretty
But
straightforward.
if you think about it, that's the vision that I think everybody in this state has. They
Sure.
want this state to prosper. They want Mississippi to be a diamond. They want us to be the best place to live and work and raise kids. Well, we got to have our young people move here, stay here,
Right.
if we're going to have that future. So I was speaking in North Mississippi not long ago to a group of about 12 men, and we were having a roundtable discussion. And I said, "What is your vision for the state?" And right out of the gate, one of them said, "I want Mississippi to be the kind of place that my kids want to stay in when they grow up." So we talked about what does that look like. Well, I think there's 2. For the sake of brevity, there are 2 columns or categories that we need to be focused on. One is the economic prosperity side of that. What makes our state economically attractive to our young people? Well, high-paying jobs is one of them. They've got to, and I'm not talking about just any job.
Right.
High-paying jobs. Our median income in this state is the lowest in the country. We got to get that raised up. We got to be able to attract jobs of the future, which are energy sector, technology sector. Those are the kinds of jobs that we need to be trying to get to this state, that and the things that go along with both of those arenas, for these kids to have jobs. Infrastructure. They want good roads. They want reliable electricity. They want reliable water. They want good schools. They want low taxes. They want safe communities. All of those things are what create an economic environment that is prosperous. The other category is what I call the social stability, or social strength, if you want to call it that. I think it's the backbone of Mississippi. I think it's what sets us apart from the rest of the country, because we have values here that are Christian values. We believe in the sanctity of marriage. Marriage is one man and one woman. We believe in the strength of the family unit. The culture is trying to undo the family unit every day.
Yeah, boys
we get
and girls sports and
keeping
all
boys out of girls
yeah,
sports,
right.
Protecting the lives of the unborn, protecting religious freedom so that our children can worship without fear of persecution. We passed a number of laws during my time as Speaker that protects your right as a citizen to worship as you want to run your business based upon Christian beliefs. We passed House Bill 1523 and the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, both of which say the government cannot persecute you if you operate your business based upon your Christian beliefs, convictions, that marriage is one man and one woman. So that's the kind of environment that makes Mississippi attractive, I think. So we got to be about economic prosperity and social strength, both of which will create the kind of place that our children want to stay and raise their kids. I know a lot of kids I went to high school with went off to Dallas and Nashville and thought it was exciting until they started having kids, and like, I don't want to raise them here. They want to come back here. And so all of the things that we've done over the last 12 years during the time I was the Speaker, I think have made Mississippi a more attractive place for our kids to stay. My children choose to live here. I'm very passionate about that. Just very briefly, I don't want to take up a whole lot of time on my background, but Gene knows this. I grew up here, Mom and Daddy and my little sister. Mississippi is my home. It's where I was born, it's where I was raised. My values that I hold were instilled in me here in Mississippi. This is where I chose to live when I grew up. It's where I chose to raise my kids. It's where my kids are choosing to raise their kids. When I was 25, my parents and my sister got killed in a car wreck by a drunk driver, lost all of them. That made me realize how short life can be. It made me realize what is really important in life. And investing in my children, it changed my attitude towards raising kids, because I never know how short a time you have with your children.
Right.
So making sure that my children prosper, making sure that Mississippi is the kind of place where they can prosper after I'm gone, drives me. My incentive to make Mississippi a good place is driven by the fact that my children are choosing to be here, and I want the future to be bright.
And I appreciate that. It kind of, I want to pivot just a little, and because we had Dr. Vasic on this show last week, and I want to pivot to how do community colleges in your vision fit in this, because you have direct Title I. So how does the community college system tie into the vision of Mississippi?
Well, I think it's vital as we talk about these jobs of the future. And our community college system is preparing the workforce for the future. We have, at one time, I don't know if these numbers are still accurate, but they're going to be close. 60% of the jobs in this state are career technical type jobs. You know, welders, plumbers, electricians, computer people, carpenters. My own son, in fact, is a carpenter. He's going into that field. So the community colleges is where that happens, where that takes place. I'm proud of the fact that one of my sons is the dean of the students at the Pearl campus of Hinds Community College. So we have personal ties to the Pearl community and to Rankin County through him. And so I think there needs to be a real focus there. One of the things we did before I left as Speaker was pass House Bill 1388, which created, put career coaches in every junior high and high school around the state. Those people exist for the purpose of informing students of these careers and guiding students who have an interest. Here's a career path you can take. And so that has been a huge success. We actually got a national award for that bill, House Bill 1388, because we devoted energy and time and supported these careers by putting a career coach in every junior high and high school in the state.
And with funding all of that, because this is kind of where I was tying this.
Yeah,
because we talk about funding public education. That's a broad term.
It is.
But a lot of that money goes into our high schools, junior highs, the lower education part of it.
Right.
And then we talk about universities and how much money we fund over to the universities and all that. And it just seems like sometimes we forget that there's this middle bunch called the community college that plays such a vital role. Should we not be increasing funding in that area, just like we've done in the other two? Should we not be really focusing more on
We certainly need
colleges?
to support, and I haven't, been out for 3 years. I don't know what the current funding level
I mean,
is.
it's about the same
But-
as it's been.
But they serve a role that fills the workforce here in our state. We also created the Office of Workforce Development before I left, which again is called Accelerate Mississippi, which is designed to focus on those jobs. So I think the policies that we passed during my time as Speaker certainly elevated the focus on career technical education, which will, of course, pay off in our state.
There's no doubt that here again, Gene, I can tie this back, and I'm going to start tying it back to what you just said. I'm going to tie it back to 2006.
Okay.
When you when you started the Republican caucus, because that's where you filled in a gap for me that I didn't know. But so, yes, that was the pivotal point. This led to all of this. We wouldn't have data centers today. People may think, how you drawing that? I'm telling you. We would not have data centers and all these things that are coming in. Siemens building this massive $300 million plant out here in Rankin County, had we not formed the Republican caucus in 2006.
I think it was certainly foundational.
Very foundational. All of these things that you're talking about that you've been able to guide and shepherd through, we would not be sitting here today talking about you running for governor had we not had those things happen in the past. And you're right. God puts you where he wants you. And we just have to keep the faith and trust.
There you go.
You said we wouldn't get through all the questions. You answered all my questions. You answered all my questions.
I appreciate you just letting me talk.
You did pretty good. And something that I did last time with Dr. Basic, which was a lot of fun. I haven't done this before with our interviews. But we do this show every week in and week out. We're sitting right here. I've got Gene sitting there and Dean sitting there, and it's the hot seat. So when the legislature's in session,
this is the hot seat.
That's the hot seat.
I wonder why Gene ran up here and grabbed that one.
But he
said, "I'm sitting here. You sit there." I said, "Okay." I didn't know.
When the legislature's not in session, we have you guys come in and talk to us, and I've enjoyed it. Well, last week I started this. I started doing a lightning round because people just want to know, just general stuff that they may not know. So I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
I want you to keep it one word or 5 words. Just keep it buttoned up.
Okay.
We're going to go quick.
All right.
Coffee or sweet tea?
Sweet tea.
Early bird or night owl?
Early.
Favorite Mississippi town besides your hometown?
Lena, Mississippi.
Why?
You said 1 to 5 words. Now you want to know.
I do. Why Lena?
Y'all may not know where Lena is. It's in the southwest corner of Leake County.
Yeah.
So if you go up Highway 25 like you're headed to Carthage, you'll see a sign that says Lena.
Yeah, now
where my mom and daddy
leaving.
were from.
Oh, okay.
Where my mom and daddy were from. Both my grandmothers
Wonderful.
lived there. It was I lived there till I was 5.
Gotcha.
My second home.
Yeah.
My parents are buried there. I talked about the wreck earlier. I buried them there. So actually Tuscola is a community out from Lena. So my daddy was from Tuscola. My mom was from Lena.
Wow.
And they graduated Lena High School. Lena was known for the biggest 4th of July celebration.
I know.
In the state. You may remember
I do.
Okay.
They're actually supposed to start the fireworks to show back up.
They're going to do it
I
this
heard
year.
that.
They're going to do it this year.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my second home.
All right. Barbecue or catfish?
Barbecue.
Last book you read?
Oh gosh, I love to read, and I always have about 6 or 8 books going at the same time, and whatever the mood is, that's what I read. I'm currently, let me think. I read Grant by Ron Chernow.
Oh, wow.
It's about 800 pages.
Wow.
Took me about 4 years. But, I read at night before I go to bed, and about 4 pages I'm falling asleep. So if you do 4 pages at the time.
It takes 4 years.
But
Grant.
But I read a book I would commend to all Christian believers called Union with Christ by Sinclair Ferguson. It's a little bitty book. Made a tremendous impact on me. I'm actually teaching it in my Sunday school class. I go to Morrison Heights Baptist in Clinton.
Yeah.
I teach a young married class. They're 30 to 40-year-old young couples. I'm teaching that book right now because I read the book. It made such an impact to me on me. I wanted to give it to them.
You wanted to share. Well, thank you for sharing. Here, favorite movie?
Well, it just depends on the category now. But one that I'd rather do my favorite TV show.
Okay,
that's
favorite TV show.
Easy.
Favorite TV show?
Andy Griffith.
Andy Griffith.
Andy Griffith.
That makes sense.
It's my favorite TV show. I have the Andy Griffith trivia game at the house.
Do you really?
I get to play it twice a year on my birthday and Father's Day because those are the only 2 days that you get to do what you want to do.
Exactly.
And it's me versus all of my family.
Oh my God!
And I beat them every
year.
So Andy Griffith. But what made me think about that is when you said movie, No Time for Sergeants with Andy Griffith is a funny movie too. So
all right. First job.
Very first job was with the Mississippi Library. Well, let me back up. Working for my daddy was the first job I ever had. He had me digging ditches and plowing the garden and doing all the things. But paying job was the Mississippi Library Commission, and when I was 15 years old, my Sunday school teacher I was the head of the Library Commission, and he called my daddy one day and says, "Does Philip want a job?" And my daddy said, "Yes, he does." And then he came home and told me I had a job. And I received books and restocked them. The Mississippi Library Commission is kind of the central repository for all the libraries in the state.
Right.
So libraries make a request for books and they send it to them, and then they receive them back. So I shipped out books and I restocked books. Wow. Then after that, I took on as a painter, and I hired on as a paint contractor, or a painter for a paint contractor.
Okay, all right. One word your family would use to describe you.
I need hearing aids. That's what they would say. But they're amazed at some of the things I can hear. They call it selective hearing.
Selective hearing. Gotcha. Yeah, I know one. One thing people would be surprised to learn about you. What's something somebody doesn't know?
Well, I've been hand grappling for catfish. Oh yeah, I got a big old. I wish I had my phone. Yeah.
Do you really?
I've done that with Bubba Carver.
Bubba Carver. I was going to say you went
hand grabbing.
One of our legislators in North Mississippi has a big. Well, he used to do it every year. I don't know if he still
does.
Wow.
Yeah, I got a 35-pound catfish. Big picture of it. Me holding it. And
wow.
It's just me in the river, holding this huge catfish that I caught.
Amazing. Text or phone call?
Phone call all the time. Quit texting. I was just so irritated at my young people who want to text. I'll tell my wife, it's time to go. Well, so-and-so hadn't responded to the text. Well, call them and see if they'll answer. I'm not a...
I know.
There are occasions for text, but if you're really wanting to communicate, I had one of my sons broke up with his girlfriend via text. I said, that is not appropriate.
No, that's not appropriate. All right, SEC football or baseball?
I played college football, or I tried to play college football. Let me clarify that.
He played.
So, I love football, but all 3 of my sons played baseball, and all my grandsons played baseball, and I probably loved baseball more than football.
Okay.
So, that's a tough call there.
Yeah, right.
I like them both.
Here's some fun. Mountains or beach?
Mountains,
Pen, paper, or tablet?
pen and paper.
Toughest vote you ever cast?
In the legislature? Gosh, I don't know. It would have been before I was speaker. It would have been when I was a House member.
Okay.
Probably. I remember there was one vote that was an education vote, and I voted in a way that made the education community mad. I don't even remember what the bill was.
Okay.
Now. But I went to Haley Barber and I said, look, I'm getting beat up.
Yeah, I can't do this.
by this. I mean, I've already gotten. He said, I was a freshman.
Yeah.
So it's hard that when you're a freshman, that first backlash that you get, you're like, oh, I've made the world mad.
Right.
And he said, how many phone calls have you gotten? I said, 40. I had the little yellow slips of paper, pink slips of paper. I said, 40. And he laughed and he said, you represent 25,000 people, and only 40 of them have bothered to call you about
You're
this?
fine.
He said, I don't think this is a crisis.
30 of them, 39
And,
vote
you know,
for you. Right,
8 years later, I became Speaker of the House.
There
I was
you
there
go.
for the next 20 years.
There you
So
go.
it put it in perspective for me that,
Yes.
you know, that's
Yes.
not a crisis, but at the time,
No.
it sure felt like a crisis.
Oh, that's a lot of fun. Most underrated Mississippi leader?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. Underrated Mississippi leader.
Yeah.
I'd have to think about that.
Yeah, I would too. That's why I was wondering who you thought would be the most, somebody that's been really impactful, but was underrated. Somebody you've known in the past.
I don't know.
Most Memorial Day at the Capitol.
Most rewarding day?
Memorable. Most memorable day at the Capitol.
Well, I'd have to point to the Dobbs case.
The Dobbs case.
When
That's what I
that
was right.
decision, you know, that wasn't necessarily one.
Yeah.
Well, let me back up. It was one day. When that decision came down, we were not in session. And so, but when that decision came down, I sent a text to my caucus saying, Roe versus Wade has just been overturned.
Yeah.
And it started within our caucus.
Right, it
You
did.
people,
Yeah.
you Republicans
Started it. The whole thing.
did it.
Yeah, right in
And
Mississippi.
we will never do anything greater in our political lives.
No, I agree.
than that right
I
there.
agree.
So that would be my proudest moment.
That would be. Gulf Coast or Delta?
Oh, love them both.
All
love
right.
all our
Good
states.
answer.
I love the entire state.
Favorite Mississippi festival?
Well, you know, when Lena was
Lena?
doing their thing, that
Yeah.
was pretty good. My
Yeah.
wife and I won the egg toss there that year.
Okay. All right.
And I
Yeah.
got an apple pie for it, and they had turtle races.
Wasn't the watermelon spitting contest, seed spitting contest
We
in
won that
Taylorsville
too.
or
I won
mine?
that too.
Yeah.
There you go.
Just checking. Best Mississippi hidden gem?
Man,
I come up with some winners, right?
I don't.
All right, so how about this one? If you had one day, this is the last one. If you had one day to show off Mississippi to an outsider, a visitor, where would you take?
Pearl, Mississippi. I would take them to Pearl.
Besides here.
Pearl is you go back to
Jewel
that
of the
previous
crossroads.
case, the gem of Mississippi is Pearl, Mississippi. That's what I would do.
Wow. What fun he is. I bet you learned something you didn't know, though. Hand grabbing. Hand grabbing. All right. We've had a lot of fun, and I have so much enjoyed this. I got one more thing I just want to ask, one more question. So, and I phrased it like this: 25 years from now, even 50 years from now, 100 years from now, what do you want to be known for? What's your legacy? What do you want to be known for?
Well, the most important thing to me is my faith, and I want to be known as a man who was a good husband, good father, good follower of Christ. I'm a sinful man. The gospel tells us that every one of us is a sinner. We've all fallen short of the glory of God. We're all sinners, and there is no salvation but through Jesus Christ. He is the only way to heaven. My parents were very faithful to teach me that as a child. I became a Christian at the age of 8 or 9 and have tried my best to live that way. I fail every day, and there's no way that any of us can be good enough to go to heaven. So my faith is the thing that I try to help guide me in life. I use it for my guidance in the political world. I think there are things that you can't separate your faith from your daily activities.
No,
some people want to do that. Well, Philip Gunn's not that guy. I can't say that I'm perfect at all. I do fail many times, but that's my goal. My goal is to be Christ-like. When I became speaker, I had somebody tell me, you could put that on your tombstone. And I thought, that is not what I want on my tombstone. I don't want Speaker of the House. I want follower of Christ, loving, devoted father, husband and father. So that's, to me, the legacy I want to leave. That's what matters in the end of the day.
Mr. Speaker, thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
I've enjoyed every second of this conversation.
Well, good. Thank you.
Thank you very much
I have too. I
for
appreciate
sharing. It's
that.
been fantastic. And thank you, Gene, for bringing him in.
Yes, sir.
Even though we didn't get much to talk about.
That's all right. I don't have to talk. I just have to sit here and look pretty. So.
He's my eye candy.
He's your eye candy. Oh my gosh, that's pretty funny. I'm going to use that. All right, y'all don't run off, because when we come back, we're going to talk about what's going on this week in Pearl. We'll be right back.
Here in Pearl, we have Trustmark Park. It seats 8,500 people. It's a great venue that we have here locally. You can catch a baseball game. We have a new team, the Mississippi Mud Monsters, so we're so excited about that. In Trustmark Park, the stadium's been fully renovated. And adjacent to that, we have Bass Pro Shop, as well as the Mississippi outlets that people can come shop and enjoy and have a great time. So it's a good place to come. It's a destination spot for our city. We did a $12 million renovation to our Parks and Rec several years ago, and what we were missing was another key area for our children to come and just be able to hang out and have fun, but also have some playground equipment that was really cutting edge. I've always thought if you can get your community together, then you can have a stronger sense of community. And I think that's what Main Street brings to the table for us. And even though we're a post-World War II city and our architectural doesn't signify a downtown, we're trying to have an area that we create that people can come together and have a sense of community.
Hi folks, welcome back into this edition of This Week in Pearl. I'm your host, Frank Hutton, and my goodness, that truly delivered. It was a fantastic conversation. Really enjoyed getting to know a little bit more about Speaker Gunn and how he governed and all the things that we walked through from 2006 and 8 and 12 and laying the groundwork for Mississippi. I hope you guys found that as informative as I did. Very, very good conversation and enjoyed it immensely. All right, so what's going on this week in Pearl? We're coming off of a successful past couple of weekends where we had the Midtown Summer Concert Series. Now we're moving into getting ready for school. If you can believe this, we're right in the middle of summer, so it's going to be a little quieter around for the next couple of months, but we'll be getting ready for school coming up soon. So in that vein, they are already registering for football for City League, if you can believe it. Football registration started June 1 and will go this entire month. So be sure and visit pearlparksandrec.com, and then you can learn all about registering for that. And then don't forget, Mississippi Mud Monsters are also playing right now. Season's open. They have home games. Please go visit mudmonstersbaseball.com and you can check on the schedule and go check them out during the summer. Something good during this time between school year. So go check them out. Anyway, thank you very much for joining this week. I'm your host, Frank Hutton. And until next time, y'all have a great week. I'll see you next time.